Ladies and gentlemen, we have a real treat today. Brand new LED light from Nicrew C10 Plant LED. This LED has been on Amazon for a couple of months, but seems to have been missed by the wider community. So let's take a quick look. The first thing you'll notice is that the packaging is very different to what we have come to expect from Nicrew. This is a typical Nicrew packaging. It looks nice, but it feels budget. This packaging looks like more of a premium product. I don't know why. It has less print, it has less of everything, but it feels better. So you can see the size I've gone for. This is the largest one. There isn't a 4-foot version of this light, which I find strange because I would have had that if there was one, but there are 4 other smaller sizes than this. We've got a few descriptions of some features here: sunrise, sunset, time controller, colourful LED, dimmable, brackets adjustable. Nice. And on the back, a little bit more of a description about how we can set this up using the timer, and also the details about the LEDs. Now this is one of the most important things about this light. It's been designed for plants in mind. It's not just to light your aquarium up. This is a direct competition to all of those high-end plant specific LEDs. And we can see here we've got 6500K, 81 LEDs. And here's the important thing: we've got specific nanometer colour LEDs. We've got red and we've got blue, and they're there to hit those chlorophyll peaks. We'll go into that a little bit later. I haven't opened this packet yet. I've been waiting to share that moment with you. So everything in this review is completely based on what I'm initially going to be seeing and experiencing. Nothing in this review is rehearsed or pre-written. We're going to be doing it off the cuff as I see things while I'm opening the box. So let's get inside of her then. Right, opening up the end, because normally these boxes tend to slide away from each other, but this one is packaged that you have to open it up from one end. Not an issue. Let's see what's in the box. We have initially got our timer. This is really cool new feature on these Nicrew C10 lights. We're going to go into this in a little bit more depth a bit later. Power supply. This one is obviously for the UK market with our 3 pins. Pulling out the light even further. Bubble wrapped and nicely packaged inside with some expandable foam to stop it moving around. Wonderful. Oh, I think I've missed something. Let's get in at the other end. That's probably the mounting brackets, so we can stick it over an aquarium. I believe so. There we go. Anything else? No, I think we're done now. Right, so straight off the bat, this is what we get in the box. We have our LED wrapped in bubble wrap. We have 2 mounting brackets. These are metal as well, as you can hear. And we have our power plug. We also have our controller. One interesting thing we have is this cable. Now, this is a male and female ended cable, and the only reason I can fathom that is in there is because you might want to extend your lead. It's quite a short lead, as you can see, but that might suit some people. However, should you wish to make it longer, we have this cable here, which will allow us to add, I would imagine, another metre or metre and a half in length. I'll measure it more accurately later. So that's an interesting feature, isn't it? Obviously, if you've got your light right next to your aquarium, you don't want this extra cable, plug it straight in. If you want that extra length, it's there available for you. We also have a quick start guide, and we have this interesting thing as well. You can tell Nicrew are really trying to get into the planted tank scene, because we've got a par readings reference chart, which I've never seen in any other light. Also giving you a recommended photo period, and on the back we've got recommended colour spectrums, because you can change the channels. This is a 2-channel LED light, and we can split them and make them different depending on what colour spectrum you want. That is really cool. And here, look, crisp blue, which means we could potentially use this, and we're going to be using this, on a saltwater tank. Let's take the bubble wrap off and have a look at the LED light itself. So I think you'll agree immediately, this looks like a premium product. Gone are the days where Nicrew LEDs are cheap and janky, really big and unwieldy. It's nice and thin. It's about 1 centimetre. Let's test that and see how accurate my measurement skills are. Yeah, 1 centimetre is about right. And the product description says it's made from an aluminium frame, but all I can see here is plastic. So let's give it a little scratch, and then we'll see what's underneath. Yep, that is aluminium underneath. So obviously nice and lightweight, but high quality. And aluminium's good at dissipating heat as well, so that should help keep the LED cool. As for the LEDs, you can see they're hidden safely behind this plastic cover. Underneath we have our 3 rows of LEDs. Now one thing I'd like to normally see on these to get that waterproofing is the LEDs covered in some kind of resin or silicone, because if water does get in here, I don't think there's any protection to help with that waterproofing. Let's take a look at the LEDs then, because that's what we're all here for. So we've got the whites around the outside and in the middle between the blue and the reds. The 6500K give you a broad spectrum LED, hit pretty much everything else, but these are the ones, the red and the blues are the ones which are going to be helping the plants to grow. Because if you look at this guide from the Nicrew Amazon page, you can see the 2 chlorophyll peaks that we're trying to hit. And that's where the plants are going to be getting a lot of their energy from. And that's where this light differs from Nicrew's other lights. Obviously these LEDs are very bright, they're very crisp and clear. This is one of the really cool features from this light. I don't normally just get excited about a timer, but this is one that is different to Nicrew's other timers. I think we're all familiar with Nicrew's standard LED controller by now. They're very popular and very useful. This one is backlit though, which is very different. And we've also got a nice crystal display by the looks of it. And it functions as you would expect. We can change the time and we can set whether we want the light to be on or off at these specific times. You can see that's the off time. You can turn the light off or on manually from this. Also, if you go into the settings, when you cycle through, you can also change the color spectrum as well. So this is where you do your changing of the 2 channels. If we go through, we can set our on time and our off time, and then here's our different channels. You can see the light gets dimmer or brighter on those 2 different channels. This is also how you set your timer. So as standard, this light is set to come on at 9 AM and go off at 5 PM with a half an hour ramp on and off time, which is really good for people who just like to plug and play their LEDs, don't really want to mess around with their lights. So this, as soon as you plug it in, is set to that 9 to 5 schedule. You don't have to do anything else, which is great. But if you want that flexibility, you can. But the big thing for me is the backlight on here. This is really nice because if it's in your cupboard, for instance, you don't need to bring a torch with you to operate this timer. And what you've just seen there is it has its own little timer inbuilt as well, so it will turn off eventually. It doesn't stay on, which is good as well. Won't just be illuminating your cupboard at midnight. One thing I have noticed with this timer though is it doesn't have any memory. So once you've set it, should you get a power cut or unplug it to move it or whatever, you have to completely set up your schedule and brightnesses again, which is a bit annoying. I would have preferred it to have some sort of memory, but to be fair, I do get the same issues with my more expensive FLUVAL lights. They don't have that memory inbuilt. When I get a power cut, I have to come up and reconnect them as well. So it's not the end of the world, but it is something that would have differentiated this light should it have remembered its previous settings. So I think you'll agree with me that this is a very attractive looking light. We can obviously compare it with other lights. We've got the FLUVAL REEF 3.0, a chunky light but a very bright one for reef tanks, and we've got a silver version of the AQUASKY. In fact, we also have a black standard version of the AQUASKY. You can see the thickness there. You can see the kind of LEDs that are used in that. Obviously RGB in those. Compared to those FLUVAL offerings, this is thinner, it's lighter, and I think it also potentially looks more premium, which is a strange thing to say when this is actually cheaper. The mounting brackets are pretty basic. They're just some wire that's been twisted, but they work. You can see them in action here. You can extend your light up to 115 centimeters, I think it said on the packet. So we can obviously put this over almost a 4-foot aquarium. What we're going to do now is test this light compared to the FLUVAL AQUASKY that's already on this tank. So now to the main event. We're going to be testing this light brightness over a FLUVAL Shaker 252. It's roughly 2 foot deep, 1 foot wide and 3 foot long, just for instance, in case you want to know sort of the size of the tank. And I'm going to be testing it against my old faithful, the FLUVAL AQUASKY. Now, I pick on AQUASKYs because they're brilliant lights. They have lots of functionality and I find them to be just all round exceptional for their price point. So we'll start with the AQUASKY, and you can see over this tank it does a very good job. It illuminates pretty deeply into the aquarium. It's bright. Obviously it's yellow, but this is because it's a freshwater LED. I'm using it on a saltwater tank, so you know, over a freshwater planted tank, it's not a big deal, but it's doing a fairly good job. And here is the NICREW C10. I would say it's marginally brighter, and I only say marginally, there's not a huge amount of difference, but if you think about, again, the price points, you're getting a slightly brighter light for less cost. So that's good, isn't it? If this was over a freshwater planted tank, I think you'd be very, very pleased. I might suggest 2 of them should you wish to have like high intensity plants, stuff that likes to carpet, stuff that likes lots of CO2, you probably need 2 of these. But over a normal standard aquarium with plants in, I think 1 would be perfect, 1 would be enough. But I myself would opt for 2, but then bear in mind 2 of these will be less than £100, so really good value. And we'll just have a look at the light spread from the surface as well. So from the AQUASKY we can see there is a little bit of shadowing along the edges of each side of the aquarium. So the front and the back is a little bit darker, the light's not quite reaching there. Obviously it's close to the water, and also we've only got 1 row of LEDs, so kind of to be expected, but it is a fair test to compare it to the NICREW light. So we'll have a look at the NICREW one now and see if we get any shadowing as well. I have lowered it to roughly the same height as the AQUASKY would be. I mean, there might be a couple of mils higher, but it's roughly the same, and I think it's brighter along the edges. Now obviously it's not massively different, it's not night and day, but the light is reaching the front and the back of the aquarium. I mean, partly to do with the fact that it's got a row of 3 LEDs compared to a row of 1. We've obviously got more spread on the light just from that, because the AQUASKY is just along the centre, we've got 2 extra rows. But there we go, that's the difference of the lights. And I think so far, compared to the AQUASKY, I think this is better in terms of the light output. I think it's better in terms visually as well. So at the moment, I would say this C10 is edging in front of the AQUASKY. As much as I love the AQUASKY, I love the features like the Bluetooth and so on, I think for the price point, this C10 is doing a really, really good job. Obviously the light output is brilliant, the spread is great, it looks attractive, we've got mounting brackets and so on. One thing I will test now, lux output. So to start with, we'll do the lux for the C10, and what I'm doing is I'm putting the light up here, and I'm putting my lux meter, which is my phone, on the bottom here. My phone is a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, so the light sensor is actually pretty good on this. This is the C10 from the top of the aquarium to the bottom of the aquarium. So we're at 2,200 lux, which going down 2 foot is actually a really good result. And here's the FLUVAL AQUASKY, 1945, 1950, still a very bright light. So the next thing I'm going to test is the IP rating. Now I tested this on the AquaLux and it failed, unfortunately, so I'm hoping that the C10 is going to be better. Now it does say on the Amazon page that it is IP67 rated. From IP67 we have basically waterproof down to 1 meter for 30 minutes. That is what an IP67 thing should be able to last and stand up to. So we're going to dunk this into the aquarium, hopefully not get electrocuted, and we'll see how it does. So straight away I'm going to take it out because immediately there's been some water ingress, so clearly not IP67, and we can see that the water has got into it quite clearly. That is not what I was hoping for. I was hoping, because this unit looked quite decent, it would be up to the rating, but clearly not. So we can see the point of failure has been this corner here. The little seal that should be here, that's joining the 2 bits of aluminium together, hasn't been sealed properly or isn't working properly, and that's where the water has gotten into the light. This corner seems okay because I just tried to drain it for that corner and nothing came out. So just on this corner, I think we can see a little gap there. I have drained as much as I can out, but you can see that the LEDs are flickering and flashing in that area, that corner, and I'm imagining they're going to fail. You can see all the condensation in there as well. It's a real shame. I mean, I don't know what more to say really. It's a shame that it's been rated at IP67 and yet my one is definitely not. So I actually really like this light. Despite the fact that we've now got a disco going on in the left hand end, it seems like a really good light. We've done the brightness test on it. It is a tremendously bright LED. If the LEDs themselves are as they're advertised, so the blue and the red hitting those chlorophyll peaks and the whites at 6500K, I can't see any reason why this wouldn't grow freshwater plants really well. And obviously macroalgae in my case, which is, if it survives, what I'm going to be using it for. Visually, I think it's a really attractive thing. Most LEDs these days are quite thin, and that's just the way technology has evolved. This one is also very thin and very light, so very attractive over open topped aquarium. You know, on Instagram these days people like to have really thin, expensive LEDs, and I think this is hitting the mark there. Temperature wise, it's quite cool. In fact, compared to a lot of LEDs, I can hold my hand on this, I'm not getting any discomfort. It's warmer in the middle than the ends, but that's to be expected, I would have thought. If we compare it to one of Nicrew's older version lights, the G10 Classic, I think this one is. Where are we? Classic LED plus HO. You can see just how much they've come along in their design. This is very heavy, very chunky, you know, thick and not as attractive. One plus this does have though is the LEDs are actually encased in some sort of resin or silicone, which gives them that waterproofing. I don't know why. Maybe it's a cost thing, why Nicrew have moved away from this, because this seems to work really well. I submerged this light, I think, and it didn't break. They still work. All the LEDs still work to this day, years on from buying it. But I don't know, maybe it is a cost thing. I don't really have an answer, but I'd like to see this kind of thing in these lights, and then you would have the IP67 rating. This thing is, I think it's going to be toast, unfortunately. It might survive, but it might be toast. So in general, yeah, it's a decent light. It's sub £50. As long as you don't take it for a swim or drop it in your aquarium, I think you're going to be hard pressed to beat this LED. So if you have enjoyed this video, I'm going to be doing more LED reviews in the upcoming couple of weeks, including this one. This is going to be done potentially this weekend. We've got an RGB plus white, another new light from Nicrew, and we'll give this a similar kind of seeing too. We're going to dunk this in a tank as well. Hopefully this one might do a little bit better. If you have enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. Once again, thank you for watching and happy fish keeping.